Good evening all. Thanks for making your presence known know about this topic. The topic for today's discussion is amateur radio communication. Anyone, any idea what is amateur radio communication? Any idea?
It's a communication, digital communication.
Okay.
Probably we can just building the network.
Amateur radio communication is a traditional radio communication which is part of telecommunication service, but most of us not aware of it. Being a utilizer, it is my responsibility to share this information to all. That is why we are here. Okay. In the next few minutes, we'll be discussing about what is amateur radio communication and its background. And what are the propagation methods and what are the bands we are covering and how it is getting connected with the current IT world, because we are in the IT moment now, and what are the traffics we are handling and how to get in this group and what are the benefits out of amateur radio communication, and finally we will wind up with question and answer session. Fine. Let us move on to the topic. Amateur radio communication. The word amateur came from French. The meaning of amateur is hobby. If you involved in an activity as a hobby, then it is called amateur. Another way you can say, if you engage in an activity to pass the time rather than as a profession, then it is called amateur. Radio is nothing but radiation of electromagnetic signal to the atmosphere, and communication is nothing but conveying messages at a distance. So collectively, the meaning of amateur radio communication is involvement of radio communication as a hobby. Purely it is an electronic hobby, but you can do many things by the way you handle it. Right? Amateur radio is nothing but connecting people through radio waves across the globe. Okay. People in this group uses radio transmitters and receivers to communicate with each other without any pecuniary interest. It is a regulated non-commercial radio service offered by Department of Telecommunication. Fine. If you are the user of amateur radio communication, then you will be called by the name ham, H-A-M. There are many speculation available for the word ham, but technically if you relate, three people majorly contributed for the development of radio communication. First person is Hertz, who actually demonstrated the existence of electromagnetic signals in the 18th century. And the second person is Armstrong, who actually developed a resonant oscillator circuit for radio kind of work. Third person is Marconi, who actually developed a radio communication in this world. So collectively, the starting letter of these three people became the word ham. If you are a part of amateur radio group, then you will be called by ham. Information and technology overview. After the invention of radio communication, this practice started early in the 19th by International Telecommunication Unit and controlled by ITU Radio Unit. Within India, this practice started in the year 1921, and the services are being controlled and monitored by WBC. WBC is nothing but Wireless Planning and Coordination, which is the part of Department of Telecom. Actually, they are issuing all the frequency spectrums to all the users. Okay, they are issuing frequency spectrums to network and non-network. Network in the sense GSM, CDMA, which are related to commercial. This is a non-commercial service, so which falls under non-network category. Technology-wise, it is a radio access network. RAN. When you talk about RAN, we have generations: first generation, second generation, up to fifth generation, right? This service falls under first and second generation kind of network. Purely, it is an independent communication. It does not depend on any network. It is purely an independent communication, but there are options to connect with the existing networks. Fine. And the mode of transmission is half duplex. At a time, you cannot transmit and receive, right? Either you can transmit or either you can receive. Moving on to the next. When you talk about radio communication, we should understand some propagation methods, basic propagation methods, right? Based on the characteristic of the signal and the atmosphere, we have three types of propagation. First one is ground wave propagation. Frequencies between 3 kHz to 2 MHz signals will be falls under ground wave propagation. Here, the waves will be guided along the surface of the earth. Okay. And the second propagation method is skywave propagation. Frequencies between 2 MHz to 30 MHz signals will be falls under skywave propagation. Above the earth, there is a layer called ionosphere, which is located at around 500 km from there. Basically, that it is by nature it will capable of reflecting frequencies between 2 MHz to 30 MHz signals. Based out of this, skywave propagation is happening, right? And the final one is space wave propagation. Frequencies above 30 MHz called as space wave. Example is line of sight communication. Transmitter and receiver should be in line of sight. All these three propagation can be related with the existing system. Say for example, in your transistor radio receiver, you can find bands MW, SW, FM, right? MW, medium wave band, is an example for ground wave propagation. Short wave band, SW band, is an example for skywave propagation, where you can listen programs from different countries. Whereas in ground wave propagation, you can listen programs from regional wise. In skywave, in shortwave band, you can listen programs from different countries. FM is a classical example for space wave communication. It is a point-to-point communication. Okay. Based on the propagation method, we have radio band starts from 3 kHz to 300 GHz with various levels. Very low frequency, medium frequency, high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency, super high frequency, extremely high frequency. In amateur radio communication, we use high frequency band, very high frequency band, ultra high frequency band, and super high frequency band for point-to-point communication, right? So look at the slide here. Instead of frequency 160 m, 80 m, what is this? Raj, any idea? What is this? Instead of frequency, fine, nothing but in terms of lambdas. What is the formula for lambda? C by F. Lambda equal to C by F. C is nothing but velocity of electromagnetic signal. When you say, for example, if you look at the 144 to 148 MHz band, if you substitute the 144 MHz, the value will come around 2 point something. So generally, people will talk about meter, 2 meter band, 30 meter band, 40 meter band, likewise. So that's the classical difference. Okay. Let us see how the amateur communication happening in different modes of propagation methods. First one is high frequency. As I said, above the earth there is a layer called ionosphere. It is a nature of gift of nature. Basically, this layer is an electron density variation layer, which can capable of signals from 2 MHz to 30 MHz. You can say it is a sky mirror. Okay. If you transmit a signal to ionosphere layer, it will be reflected at the layer, then it will return back to the earth. Again, it will get reflected at the earth level. Then again, it will get reflected at the ionosphere. Likewise, the signals will flow. For inter-continent communication will happen via high frequency only. This mode of communication is suitable for intercontinent and different countries. You can do communication. For short, you can do short distance also, but short distance you cannot expect that much efficiency. Over the long distance, you can feel the real difference. Fine. there are dedicated frequency bands for amateur radio communication. These are all available, but most popular bands are 7 megahertz and 14 megahertz. But some of the bands are used somewhere around the world. But within India, you can find 7 megahertz and 14 megahertz. These are the famous popular band in India. These standards are not an Indian standard; it is a ITU standard, international standard. Fine. We have next one is VHF communication. It is nothing but a point-to-point communication. So point-to-point communication is in the sense line of sight. So when you talk about line of sight, maximum 100 kilometer can cover. When you go beyond 100 kilometer, you need to reach via repeater, or you need to elevate your antenna system, right? Point-to-point direct communication you can do. You will have one transmitter at one end, another transmitter at another end, direct over around 100 kilometer of transmission you can do. Say for example, within Chennai city, around the Chennai city you can cover. But when you want to communicate Chennai to Bangalore or Chennai to Hyderabad, you cannot reach because number of obstacles are more in ground levels, right? So we have repeaters across the locations which are located at the top of the hill. All the hill station, for example, Ooty, Kodaikanal, Irkut, all the hill stations having repeaters, VHF repeaters. If you are unable to reach through direct mode, you can reach via repeaters. There are dedicated frequency allotted for the repeaters, different repeaters. Easily you can reach. Fine. In VHF mode, we have two bands, 50 to 54 megahertz band. Another one is 144 to 146. Most popular band is 144 to 146 megahertz band. 50 to 54 megahertz band, we will not use it for voice kind of communication. We will use it for beacon, for navigational purpose. Okay. And the third one is UHF or SHF. It means ultra high frequency and super high frequency. This is nothing but a satellite communication. In UHF and SHF, point to point is very limited because when frequency getting increased, the earth attenuation will get increased. So you cannot do long distance point to point communication. In those cases, you can reach via satellites. We have dedicated satellites across the globe. Within India, we have a satellite called HAMSAT, which was launched in 2005. Still, it is working, but it is at the end of the stage. So we have looking for the second satellite, HAMSAT 2 version. So using satellite, you can reach different location in FM mode. Fine. We have dedicated band for UHF as well as SHF. 434 megahertz band is a standard for UHF frequency. 5725 megahertz is the standard band for super high frequency. I said it is a traditional radio service, but the current world is moving towards IT, right? So though it is a traditional, we can't live as it is, right? But we have we have options to connect with the existing internet cloud, right? This is applicable for VHF and UHF communication. HF already you can reach across the globe, but VHF and UHF only we have limited distance of communication because of line of sight, right? So here the classic example for how the current VHF and UHF VHF and UHF transmitters are connected via internet cloud. Here one end is one mobile station, assume. Another end is another mobile station. We have repeaters across the globe, repeaters across the locations. So easily you can reach repeaters. Repeaters are connected to internet cloud via modems. Okay. From modem, you can reach the destination point. Right? Okay. Coming to the traffic, we are handling voice as well data. If you look at the generation, the first generation of network is purely a voice, analog, right? The second generation will comes under voice as well data. Third generation, internet, and go on. But we are covering, as I said, first and second kind of network. Voice covers analog and digital. Major traffic is voice only. Right? Within India, the major traffic is voice only. It can be analog or digital. And the second one is Morse code. Any idea about what is Morse code? Fine. Yes, exactly. Before binary invention, this was a digital form. DIP and DA, both the combination they will form. The example for Morse code is telegraph system. So DIP is a short duration of pulse, DA is a little bit long duration of the pulse. Based on this combination, they will form a sentence. Fine. And we handle images and videos. We have amateur television and so slow scan television, and facsimile is for image transfer. But for voice traffic, we need just voice modulator and voice demodulator. But if you want to do such kind of data traffic, you want to handle such kind of data traffic, you need a system, right? So that system should support to the data transmission. But possibilities are there. You can do image as well as video data. You can do text data. Using amateur teleprinting, you can do text messages. Okay, both the locations you can install an electromechanical teleprinter, and it can be connected through transceiver over the high frequency band or VHF band. Then you can transmit your data. Coming to the elements of amateur radio communication, we have just 4 elements required for our communication. First, you need to get a license from Government of India or any government if you are abroad. Right? Without license, operating wireless is illegal in any government. Fine. So you need to get license from government. Then you can buy or you can set up a radio transmitter and receiver. Then you can have power from either grid or battery system. Then you need to have an antenna system. Once this setup is over, you will be able to talk to your AM members, not to other members. How to get into this group finally? Within India, I am talking about only India. You need to be an Indian citizen, first rule. And the second rule is, at least you should complete 12 years. There is no education qualification prescribed for this radio license. And after then, you need to get license from WPC. They will contact license for different grades. Okay. We have 3 grades of license. First one is shortwave listener, which is for only listening. This license is suitable for beginners, those who are coming out of engineering background. Fine. This license does not require any examination. Simply you can place application, you can get license. Second grade is restricted grade and general grade. Third, both grades you need to write examination. You need to write the examination, you need to clear the examination, then they will conduct police verification, then they will issue license. Both the category of license you can do transmission as well reception. Super high frequency band is not allowed in general grade. Fine. Rest of the bands you can cover. Sorry, forgot to tell one thing. Super high frequency band is not allowed in restricted grade. It is allowed in general grade. Fine. Once you got the license and you have the system, then you can set up your radio station at your location. You can build or you can buy, depends on your skill and knowledge. Right? This is a radio base station. It can be a base station or it can be a mobile station. Nothing but walkie-talkie. Based on your requirement. If you want to do long distance communication, obviously you need to go to base station because that will pump more power, right? But the handheld radio, maximum it can support for 5 watts. Up to 5 or 10 kilometers you can reach through handheld radios. Fine. Okay. We have license, we have system, but there are some rules in amateur radio communication. If you ask, shall I use it for personal conversation? No, you cannot use it for personal conversation because all the conversations are being monitored by WPC monitoring station. We have monitoring station across India. Okay. All wireless conversation, not only amateur band, all the bands are being monitored by WPC. Okay. You should not talk about political, you should not talk about business, you can talk about education, you can talk about science and technology. During disaster, you can use for relief and rehabilitation work. And the next point is transmission of entertainment values are prohibited, which means you cannot retransmit or you cannot transmit music signals. It is totally prohibited. Because these bands are standard bands, everyone can access. It is nothing but a multiple access wireless communication. So if you do something, everyone can listen, right? So there is no encryption and decryption here. But you can do, but most of the cases we won't do. Third point is behalf of third parties it is not permitted, which means if you are a license holder, then it should be used by you only. Behalf of your license, someone should not transmit. After getting license, you will be identified by a call sign. Okay, they will give one identity to your name. Whenever you use for transmission and reception, you need to tell the identity. Not allowed to use TX and RX outside the band. We have, as I said, no, we have allocated band for amateur radio service. Out of this band, you should not go. When you buy a commercial transceiver, there are options to go out of the band, but you should not do. That is totally prohibited. And the final one is power emission should not cross the level, which means every level of transmission we have emission code. Probably would have come across in your engineering syllabus A3E, H3E, B3E. It's a kind of emission, radio emission. So every code's having some specification. You should not cross that level. But I did not mention here, but there are emission codes we should follow. Fine. Moving on to the next. Out of amateur radio, what is the benefit? Okay. You should not use it for personal. You should not use it for political. You should not use it for business. Then what is the benefit? I said it is a hobby. The very beginning itself I said a hobby. So you can use it for emergency communication. Whenever any emergency situations like flood, earthquake, storm, all our normal communication will go off, definitely. But still the amateur radio will work. Since it is an independent communication. If you have the transmitter, power source and antenna, you will be able to communicate. So whenever, wherever disaster is happening, immediately amateur group people will come into the picture. They will set up a radio location within the affected area. They will be coordinating with the local bodies. They will start rehabilitation till it's get restored. So it is kind of social service. Next, it is an electronic hobby, I said. So if you involved in amateur radio communication, purely it is a technical hobby. If you are very interested in electronics and radio techniques, then you can do many projects. You can manage your leisure time with electronics. You can improve your skill. Basically, it is a hobby. And third one is technical experimenting. We have our allocated band for radio communication, right? So if you are really interested in radio kind of work, then you can do experiment in radio bands. Okay, that and all possible in amateur radio communication. And you can do contesting. Say for example, you can place some transmitter some around 10 kilometer away. You need to find out the transmitter, from where it is sending signals. Likewise, you can conduct contesting, and within the short duration of time, how fast you are communicating with the very long distance communication. Say for example, how fast you are able to communicate with the people around the globe. Likewise, you can do some contesting. Apart from hobby and contesting, your association level will increase, because in this group, you can find all kind of people. You can find farmers, professionals, engineers, doctors, all kind of professionals you can find in this group. So you will be able to have chance to interact them, and you can share your knowledge. So your elevation level outside the world will be increased. Fine. Apart from this slides, I want to share my experience. I'm using for the past 6-7 years in this amateur radio communication. Apart from speaking over there, I have gained a technique called home brewing technique. Home brewing is nothing but homemade things. Say for example, if your mobile phone charger is not working, what you will do? You will check. You will do some preliminary check. Then you will throw it out, right? But instead of that, you can repair it, or you can build your own charger based on your skill and knowledge. Okay? So home brewing is nothing but do it yourself. You have knowledge. Being an engineering background, we have knowledge. You can improve your skill. So amateur radio motivates people to do more practice in electronics as well radio techniques. That is the main aim of amateur radio, apart from disaster management and hobby. Fine. Let us see a small video which briefly talks about amateur communication. Then we will move on to the question and answer session. Fine.